Welcome back to episode 29 of the Smugglers Den, or as I call it, the Store Champion episode. Whoa, there's Phasma. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes, and as always, I'd like to thank swdestiny.com for hosting the Smugglers Den. They have all kinds of awesome articles, checklists, whatever you need. Head on over there. You can go over to brokenegggames.com, pick up your tokens, your gaming aids, put TG Games in the discount code coupon at the end, maybe help out the show a little bit. And you can go to Patreon, Tiny Grimes, where we're discussing all things Destiny. And I gotta say, tier list is coming. Tier list is coming either end of this week, early next week. Get on the train. I'll be asking the channel what they think. So if you want to be a part of the discussion, get on over there. Have some fun with us. And this week we have joining us back again. It's been a little while. The champ himself, John Bruno. What's up, champ?
What's up, Tiny? How you doing today?
Doing good, man. I got this awesome credit card with Phasma's picture on it. I assume it's got at least like $1,000 on it. I don't know.
Pretty sweet. Congratulations.
Sound right? Thanks, man. It was a good event. We both went to Store Champs this weekend, so let's talk about them. Our Store Champs were so different. It's crazy. Our Store Champs were what, about an hour and a half apart, would you say? Maybe 2 hours apart?
Yeah, distance-wise, about that much, right? About an hour and a half to 2 hours apart.
All right, so let's start. Let's go all the way back to how I screwed over John. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So John and I made a plan. We're going to go to the Store Champ together and at Gameology and have a great time and do what we like to do and hang out. And my wife had a commitment, and then my daughter got sick, and so she couldn't take her, and so I was not able to go to the Store Championship. And I messaged John. I said, John, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then about like 40 minutes before that one started, which is an hour away, by the way, I got the word, never mind, you're going to be able to go. My wife was coming home, so I was like, John, I can't make it there. I got to go to the other one because it starts later. So John and I split up to dominate SoCal at different locales.
Well, we like to think so.
Yeah.
You did. One of us did, but...
One of us did, yeah. So let's talk about mine first, because mine was what I expected it to be. It was 37 players, a lot of really good players, and Pomaz being played. Not that much, though, John. I think there were only 5 or 6 in the whole tournament, and they took first, second, third, fourth, and sixth. Pretty much exactly what I would expect from good players playing Pomaz. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So it was an interesting event full of really angry people. So it was basically like this dichotomy of the population where it was like a bunch of good players, like Mike from SWDB or SW Destiny said, I'm not playing Pomaz. That deck is dumb. I want to be able to like feel like every play I'm making is a skillful play. I'm not playing it. And then other people just said, I hate that deck. And then what would happen is, as those people would play the Pomaz decks, you could hear it all around the room when someone sat down across the Pomaz player. It was like, oh, you're kidding me. Oh, my God, really? And then, like, when I was playing, every action I took, they would be like, yep, this is bullshit. Oh, my God, I can't. And I'm like, I barely even did anything. I just rolled a die, and they're like, I know, but look, you rolled a 2 damage. And I'm like, that's the good side for you, dude. You should chill a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely a deck that just immediately seeing it just makes people go, and groan right away.
Yeah.
At my event, well, and I will go back to yours, but just in my event, we probably had almost half the field. We had 27 players, I believe it was. And 27, like 13 people were playing it. And I even said before the tournament began, I was, okay, congratulations to the best Pomaz player out there today. And a couple of people were laughing, and one guy was like, oh, you're salty already. I'm like, nah, I was playing Po. But I wanted to play Po Ray. But still, you know, it's you just kind of expected to see a lot of that out there.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it was what I expected it to be. Pomaz swept the top 4. It was the problem with, so going into the tournament, I spent the whole week, I'd say 20 hours, testing decks to find something that beats Pomaz, and I couldn't find anything. And so I didn't even test Pomaz that week other than playing against it, and I didn't want to play the deck but it was one of those things where I was like, well, I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to play it. Luckily for me, I view this deck like Face Hunter in Hearthstone. And what I mean by that is it looks like it takes no skill, but it does. It definitely takes skill. It's just you have less decision points. And in the mirror, I felt like I took advantage of those decision points. The main one being I controlled the battlefield all game in both games. And the Pomaz player that controls the battlefield is the winner. I mean, there's defensive position, there's dug in. They both had planetary uprising. They never got to trigger them. It was just, I felt like I outplayed my opponents, which made me feel good because you don't always get to feel like that with Pomaz. A lot of the games are just like, I rolled my dice and crushed your face in, and they're like, yep, you sure did. You sure did.
Yeah, it's definitely a deck that hits you so hard. Sometimes you just don't even know it hit you. Game goes over so quickly, and you're, what the heck just happened? I just sat down. I was amazed because my first 3 opponents in my tournament were all Pomaz. They played Pomaz first 3 rounds, and none of the games lasted longer than 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It doesn't even feel like you played a game of Destiny. You're like, all right, cool. It took longer to set this thing up than it did to play.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like one person plays all their turns, and the other person plays all their turns. All right, we just played 2 games of solitaire. Good game. Let's go to the next round.
Yeah. So you played Poe Ray. My question for you is, if you were going to play a Poe deck, why'd you choose Poe Ray over Pomaz?
I prefer not to be a sheep. I like being the shepherd.
Hey,
or at least a little different.
I'm the shepherd. Out of all the other Pomaz players are the sheep, John.
Okay, you can claim that.
No, that's not at all true, by the way. That's not at all true.
I know. To be honest, I feel like any Poe deck is really good with the cheating aspect of it, but without having the access to fast hands and Maz with the automatic focus sides, I at least felt like I was playing the game more. Now, I do still have access to cheats with Ray because you get the hold up blast and the vibro knives, and you still hit and run still for Poe. And then you get force speed on Ray. So there's a lot of turns you can take 3, 4, 5 actions in a row, which is really neat. But at the same time, you still have to rule your stuff. You don't have access to the focus or the automatic cheat like you do for Maz. So I do feel like I wanted to play more and be in control more and just feel like I was playing the game. I don't really like playing the Poe Maz deck. I just feel like it really is, hey, I'm going to play this because I'm going to try to win because everyone else is winning with it. And there's not a lot of skill in that deck. And like you've talked about in your last podcast, Poe doesn't care. All right, I rolled a whole bunch of crap. Okay, no big deal. I'm still going to resolve and do a ton of damage. So you can roll all blanks with Poe and still end up doing, before the end of the turn, 8 damage. Like, where'd that come from? You had 2 blanks. Where at least with Poe Ray, you have to do more. The other thing I thought about, too, was if Maz dies early, because there are some people going for Maz, and she's weaker, health-wise, at least Ray does damage. So she can do damage when you get the vibro knives on her and a couple other weapons. And, like, the light bow is really good on her, too. And I liked playing where I could do damage with both characters.
Yeah. I feel like when I talk about Poe Ray versus Poe Maz has more board-wide explosivity, whereas I feel like Ray Poe has more single-target burst. Like being able to do insane things like I'll mind probe you into a mind probe, and they're like, wait, you just did 10? And you're like, yeah, it's just casual 10. Like that's hard to deal with.
It's really difficult. It's that, and I don't want to play the simpler decks. I mean, here's what I don't really want to repeat a whole bunch of this. And please, anyone who's playing Poe Maz out there, and winning a turn, oh no, I have skill and I did this, including my co-host there. But I'm like, no. The truth is that deck is easier to play. I've already heard other people at our own stores say, yeah, I'm playing Poe Maz because it's easy to play. I'm not really a good player. I think I could win with this deck. And some have made the top 4 or just missed the top 4 and won even local events because of it with a deck like that. And it really is not as much of a skill or a pilot-driven deck, where I prefer decks where, the player can I mean, you still have the die rolls, you still have the variants, and you know the die rolls and the cards. But I like to have one that feels more skill based, like I'm actually playing it, and I don't feel that with POMAs.
Yeah,
it plays itself.
I agree. That's why I don't like to play POMAs. I want to have more decision points. I said, I think there's definitely skill to playing POMAs, but it's less decision points than other decks. And I feel like Ray has a lot of decision points. There's all these cool plays you can make, especially with 4-speed. Being able to go like 4-speed into post special to do Obi-Wan's Ghost for the 3 focus side, focus 3 dice, and then resolve them all. And your opponent's just like, wait, what? What? hold on, back. How did you do all that?
Yeah, it is. And again, like I'm not really trying to bash anybody who's playing the Ray deck. If you want to play it to try to win the championship, do it. And I'm not really trying to even critique, Tiny on this for people out there listening. I mean, he played the deck and won with it. No matter who wins the tournament, you have to say congratulations to somebody for playing a deck and winning the tournament. There's also a lot.
You don't have to.
Well, not for you, but there's also a lot of other people playing that deck and not doing as well with it. I mean, in my tournament, there was somebody who, after 3 rounds, was 0-3 with the POMAs deck, and so that happens, right? So there still is, a lot to do with the quality of the player, but you still can make a whole lot more mistakes. You can be sloppy, make mistakes, not know what you're doing, and still win with that deck. So that's just where I'm going with it.
Yep, I agree with that. Yeah. So we're going to talk real quick about what would you do with this deck if you feel like it's a problem. I feel like we've reached a point where FFG is going to step in. I think the results of it have been pretty overwhelming. So we're going to start with our dream scenario. My dream scenario, John, is to do one of 2 things. Either ban fast hands or make it cost 2, which essentially bans fast hands. That's my dream scenario. I hate that card. I think it's bad for the game. I love cards like Tactical Mastery, that, by the way, costs 1 and cheats once. Fast hand cheats eternally and costs 0. There was a really big disconnect there. What would your dream scenario be? Please say ban Poe. That would be hilarious.
Dream scenario? Sure, let's go with ban Poe. Realistically, I could see them changing him to vehicle only. There's still going to be abusive situations because every set will probably have another red or yellow vehicle, or blue if you play. I don't know what blue ones would be, but red or yellow vehicles are going to be coming out in each set. We saw Sabine already spoiled for set 3. You got to figure there's going to be a rebel ship coming up in there. So the more each set that comes out, you're going to get more vehicles for him. So again, he could still be abusive. It would nerf him a little bit right now, but still, it's still a tough call. But that might be because if he's supposed to be a pilot, the best pilot in the galaxy. So I don't see him use weapons, So just let him use. I mean, see the thermal detonator. Come on, he's only into plane. Make him only use vehicles.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. For exactly what you said, like long term, this is going to be impossible. This buys us a little time to figure out what to do with him long term, because he's crazy right now. The only negative of that is it pretty much negates the Ray deck, which I like. I think Ray is a cool deck. It takes more skill. I'm not sure I'm ready for that deck to go away. That's the only thing that gives me real pause there.
Yeah, but I still think with Ray, you could still do some cool stuff, even if it was that way. And I wouldn't even mind him if his ability was red cards only. That only trigger off for red cards instead of just vehicles. Yeah. I'd be fine with that too. I mean, right now you could use, UE, you could use Black One, you can use those cards. Those are 2 red vehicles you could use with him. Mm-hmm. And you could use Launch Bay, which isn't a vehicle, but if you use the red cards. But still, it's something you could do and still feel like you're taking advantage of him. But when you have the blue cards, I mean, I did have one play in a game against an opponent. I mean, this shows you how skillless this deck can be sometimes. Anything with Poe.
So I thought you just said it was high skill.
No,
you're making fun of me for being low skill, talking up your high skill, and here you are admitting you're low skill. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't even say what might happen yet. Wait till you hear how much skill this was. So, I mean, I was really skilled because I drew some really good cards that turn. I mean,
that takes skill.
A skill drawing cards.
If you discarded 5 cards to make sure you drew them, then that's definitely skill.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially since it was going to be 2 of the same card. So in the third round, I'm playing my opponent. So I barely lost by 1 turn. Like my very next action would have killed Poe in my first round match. So I did lose my first round match. But if he, again, because of Maz, he was able to do all the shenanigans and killed me on that turn. The very next play, he's dead. I have the damage there. He's dead. But, he beat me to it. Anyway, second game I won pretty easily, pretty quickly. It was against a Vader Raider deck, actually. Oh, no, it was 4th round. Sorry, that was Vader Raider. But I did play Poe Maz second, beat that pretty quickly. We were both just hammering each other with damage. Third game, same thing. But now I've got 2 damage on my opponent's Poe. And I've got 2 damage on my opponent's Maz. That was it. This is how stupid this is, right? So, of course, I went first this turn. And I rolled out my Poe first. Luckily for me, I rolled 2 specials. And he's not really running mitigation. He hadn't rolled anything out yet. So he rolls out his Poe. Because next turn he's going to roll out the Maz. I rolled out 2 specials on Poe. What do I have in my hand? 2 Mind Probes.
Oh, Nelly.
I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So now here I am, and I'm doing 10 points of damage to Poe, and I kill Poe. That was so much skill. And he said it was funny. He was a little upset, like, oh, gee, sure, you drew 2 Mind Probes. I'm like, that's what I could say to any Poe player on any turn. Don't get upset because somebody does that back to you, and that's what your whole deck is about, gimmick. So
that's the funniest thing to me is when Poe Maz players get salty about someone getting lucky on them. Like, that's your whole game plan, dude.
Yeah, really.
Having said that, I'm sure I do that all the time when I play Poe Maz.
Oh, of course you do, but truthfully, you don't play it a lot outside of just tuning out for that tournament. I do respect that.
All right. Yeah. Well, so that's Poe Maz. I'm going to predict right here, right now, he gets handled. Like, I think everyone has had enough of him. The results have been pretty staggering. It's funny because people point to something like European Nationals and go, he didn't win. He only made up 3 of the top 8 slots, having only like 17% of the field. That's it. That's all that it did. And you're like, okay, the guy who won the event, he went 1-2 against Poe Maz in the Swiss. Those were his only 2 losses. I'm like, that's fine. It didn't win the event. And you're like, okay, sure.
We've already seen how much it's been dominating play, and that's when I feel like a deck needs to be dealt with. I mean, you see the Magic the Gathering, that happens. It also happens in lots of other Fantasy Flight games, LCG games. I mean, you and I have had lots of experience with Game of Thrones and Netrunner, and that stuff happens when decks become – when you're playing, everyone feels like they have to play the same deck or prefer to beat that one deck. That's, I think, when you have a problem. And – I don't think the deck is good for the game, to be honest, because the best part, which we lead up to what we're talking about a little bit, but the best part that made this game fun for me to play is the interaction I have with my opponent. We do things back and forth. I try to outthink you. You try to outthink me. I try to stop you, take away things you're doing, mitigate your dice. You do the same to me. That kind of sneakiness back and forth, that's what makes this game fun. And Poe Maz, that's not. There's no fun, win or lose.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that one. Yeah. So let's move on then to the next thing we want to talk about today, and that is having fun without Poe Maz.
Wow. I like it.
We went to an event last night. It's just a little game night kit tournament, and a lot of the Poe Maz players were there. There was another guy who made the top 4. I was there, a couple more people that have been playing with Poe Maz, and no one said, like, hey, if you play Poe Maz tonight, I will cut you. But it was kind of implied. It was like, we were looking around the room like, there's going to be no Poe Maz tonight, right? Like, this is a fun tournament. We're all tired of Poe Maz. We all know he's busted. No Poe Maz, right? And it was just kind of like, and then just no one brought Poe Maz. And so we played a whole bunch of games before the tournament and during the tournament. And I gotta say, John, I remembered how fun Star Wars Destiny was. I had kind of forgotten.
It was definitely a good time. I mean, you and I played a bunch of interactive decks. We just played against each other, and we played stuff, and we did stuff, and you did things that, you know, manipulated my cards, my dice. I did the same to you. It's, you know, we really had, you know what it was? It was skill-based playing, and it's kind of like who do you want to play? Who do you want to play a chess game against? Right? Do you want to win? Do you want to beat somebody who is a high experienced player, is competing with you and trying to outthink you, or you want to beat one? You know, let's beat this little first grader who doesn't know how to play it. Okay, I won. I'm badass. No, you didn't. I mean, sure, you won the game. If that makes you feel better, awesome, good for you. You know, like right now, the Golden State Warriors are playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and which really hasn't been much of a series.
No.
But let's just say LeBron was hurt and he couldn't play the series. Is Golden State going to feel better because they won their 4 games? They swept them 4? No, they feel much better now because they're going to sweep them 4 with LeBron being in there playing at his best.
I'm pretty sure LeBron must be hurt with how much they're getting thrashed.
His feelings are hurt. You know, I want to play against somebody where we're both playing our best, and it's a lot more mental than it is just, what we said before.
Yep, I agree. I had a lot of fun last night playing mostly Unkar FN Trooper.
Right.
It's the deck that right out of the gate with Spirit of Rebellion I wanted to play. I fell in love with it, and then Poe Maz took over, and it doesn't do well against Poe Maz. I mean, it just doesn't. It has 3 characters. One of them only has 7 health. Thermal detonators and such are real bad against it. And you might say something like, well, just pull all their big cards out with Unkar. Well, a smart Poe player doesn't hold 4 expensive cards, right? They, like, discard those for rerolls, keep the cheap ones, only drop a couple cards, and make sure that they're always sort of out of range. That you have to get really lucky to actually hit one of those. So it's not easy to do, but, man, I really like Unkar Trooper FN. I think FN is the best card in Spirit of Rebellion, and it's actually a card I think down the line is going to get really scary.
Oh, for sure. He's a couple weeks ago I played at KubaCon, which is a pretty decent sized event in San Francisco every Memorial Day weekend. It's a 4-day convention. Lots of gaming, board gaming, miniatures, card games, and everything too. And we had a 16-player Star Wars Destiny tournament there. And I played against the deck I played was Unkar, Stormtrooper, and Death Trooper. And I did that because I wanted to play endless ranks and be able to bring both of them back. And I was undefeated to the last round and lost in the last round to a discard deck where we both, it was on the last turn. He had 2 cards left in hand, and he was able to, like, roll a discard with Jabba to get my last card and win the game. But anyway, it was a really, really a lot of fun to play that deck. And I switched it up I took the Death Trooper out to put, FN in, and wow, it's just so much better. It really is a whole lot more fun to play with. I mean, there's so many cool shenanigans. Again, here's tricks that you get to do, and you're taking advantage of it. I mean, you know what it feels like? It feels like how Django was that card in the first set that gave you that little extra kind of cheat, and he wasn't unbeatable. He didn't win every game. He was considered a tier 1 deck. Mm-hmm. And Nines feels the same way to me. I mean, it's like he's got that little extra cheat in him. It's only 1 die, potentially, more, if you want to rewrite over, on top of upgrades. But, you get that one little extra kind of cheat thing, and a little damage here and there adds up. And he's really fun to play with.
Yeah, he's really fun, and he's really good. He's really good.
He is really good.
When he rolls well, oh my goodness. Because remember, the things you can do with him, and I did this several times last night, is to go like Vibro Knife, roll, resolve. It has ambush. Overwrite with Vibro Knuckles, roll, resolve. It has ambush. And then go Riot Baton, roll, resolve. And FN's still sitting there, not activated yet. And if you got lucky in that, you did like 7 damage would be the luckiest you could get. You need a lot of resources, but that would be Like, it's really crazy some of the things you can pull off with him.
Heck, imagine even 3 damage on those 3 rolls, or
Yeah.
you picked up a money and a shield along the way with the damage. There's all extra stuff. That's like the gravy. That's everything you have extra before you even ruled him out for the turn.
Yeah. He's...
You know what else was fun with him? Which happened to me in some games too. I mean, there are times I rolled a weapon and it was a blank. But you know what? I have that extra die out for he doesn't like you before I've even, because you have to activate a character to get a die out for he doesn't like you. That was my free cheat, like, in a way. I got to die out in the pool when I'm sitting there with a he doesn't like you, and I am going to get that die removed before I activate him. So having that with he doesn't like you was actually a really awesome play.
Yeah. My favorite way to do that is when they roll out and you're like, oh, well, good thing I have an ambush weapon here. It's a holdout blaster. I roll it out as ambush. I will not resolve the 1 damage. And they're like, what? Oh, he doesn't like you. And I'm like,
exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's because it's hard to be able to rule the character, get them out, and then have the he doesn't like you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It feels like there's lots of plays to be made with FN, especially when you put stuff like the salvage stand out and Imperial Inspection. Then you have all these moments where you're like, okay, all right, I'm going to chain these 3 weapons because they all have money on them, and my opponent is sitting on 3. Or I had this actually last night. My opponent was sitting on 2, and they had rolled out with their Palpatine tons of damage, and I was safe. But I was like, if he's got no mercy, things get really real here. So I'm going to go all in on disrupting one of those money. And I did like 6 rolls, all missed the money side, and then no mercy. And I was like, yeah, not all that surprised. And he's like, really? I thought I had you really surprised there. And I was like, why do you think I re-rolled those so many times, jackass?
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, FN is a lot of fun. I think he's really strong. And then coupled with him, Unkar is like my favorite Spirit of Rebellion character, along with FN. And so getting to pair them together. And I gotta say this real quick, John. Oh, this is the Tiny Grimes Eats Crows section. I hate these sections so much, John. But I didn't think Unkar was gonna be good, and he's freaking amazing.
Yeah, the first time I saw the card too, I was like, WTF, this card sucks. And then the more you think about it, and when you start to see other cards spoiled, and you're like, wow, this is he's a pretty cool character. I've had a lot of fun playing him so far. You get great things. You roll out a 3-side on a rocket launcher, a riot baton. You haven't been able to do damage, and you don't have the money to pay for that side. Well, I'll take a card instead and get money.
Yep.
Or I'll discard Unkar's dice so I get the money to activate that die. He's very flexible for a big guy.
Yeah. What I really, really love about him so much is how well he combos with that control package. He has 2 money sides on him, 2 disrupt sides. So he's like the beautifully perfect guy to go with Imperial Inspection and Salvage Stand, where it's like over a 50% chance that you hit when you roll. And you might hit them both. Oh.
The thing that I like about this deck too, I mean, from Game of Thrones, I always love control in Game of Thrones, but this is combination aggro and control.
Yeah.
You can come out and hit with a lot of damage, just really from Nines himself, and then they surprise you with a Stormtrooper that hits a couple of hits here and there. But you also have the control of Unkar, control the hand, you control their rerolls, you control, you getting money. Remember that one game I played against you yesterday? I hit you for I don't remember how much it was, but I had 9 money carried over to the next round, and during that round I still picked up more money from you, and I was able to play out like 15 worth of upgrades on that turn. It was crazy. 15 cost of stuff that turn. It was nuts.
Yeah, this greedy bastard spent it all.
I did.
It was amazing. I've never seen that happen. I was like, no crime lord, just like stuff. It's like, I'll confiscate that, I'll play this weapon, I'll play a blackmail. I'm like, what is going on? It's crazy town.
Oh, no.
Oh, that was so much fun. I think one of the main reasons I overlooked Unkar so much is because at 13, which is I think what you have to do, you have to pay, I think you want to play him on his elite if you want to play that control package. It's just in Awakenings, I couldn't really see anything for 17 that went with him really well. And like Darth Vader, Elite doesn't go great with him. It was really when I honed in on 9s is busted at 10 when I was like, wow. You can get 9s, Elite Unkar, and a Trooper all in one deck? That is insane.
It was, like we said, a lot of fun. I had fun playing Vader, the new Vader, with 9s also. That was a fun deck. Yeah, so it just shows you how 9's a lot of fun. And remember, we had that one game that came down to one play, one damage when you were playing the Unkar deck and I'm playing, Emo Vader with 9s. And that was like one play and one damage. It was, and I had forgotten to take shields at the beginning of the game. But I'm like, nah, I don't need shields. Nah, screw it. Let's just go.
That was what we had in the game. He's like, I didn't take shields at the beginning. And I think since I lost by 1, it might have mattered.
But again, there was another game where you and I are going back and forth, interaction stuff, and it's like a boom, boom, hit them hard, do stuff, and you really have to be thinking because you have a short window to do stuff, and if you don't control the situation for that turn, for even one particular play could be the difference between winning and losing the game.
Yep, I agree. I feel like they were high skill games all night, a lot of fun. The only game that was not high skill was when I played Mike. And this is Mike from SW Destiny. He's got a really good villain mill deck that freaking wrecks my deck because it has both inspection and confiscation, and we'll get to that later. And then just lots of mill, and I didn't kill a single one of his guys. He had 3 dudes. I didn't kill any of them.
Yeah, he wrecked me too. I killed the 2 non-unique characters very late in the game, but it was like too little too late. Although at the very end, he only had 3 cards left in his deck, and I had none when he ended up pulling my last card out of my hand.
Interesting.
And I only had 3 cards left, and, the Lying in Wait, is that the right card?
Yep.
That's the one that beat me. He was able to pull it off twice. And that's
no, not
cards.
Lying in Wait. Loose Ends.
Loose Ends, thank you. I knew I'd get that one wrong all the time. Yeah, Loose Ends, right? And he pulled 8 cards in my deck with that, and that's a big difference. That could be a difference in me decking him. See, that's the thing you can do with the Unkar deck, too. Even though you are aggressive, you do damage with FN and a Stormtrooper, mostly FN, but you can also use their dice to just keep ripping cards out of your opponent's hand. And if you get the situation where, okay, they've got too many characters, I have to do too much damage, and I'm not going to have enough time to get it done, you can turn it into a discard deck. And it still works effectively.
Yeah, I think actually my next incarnation of that deck is going to be to throw in a TIE Fighter or 2 for that sort of exact scenario where it's like we're so focused on this fast meta, of Poe everywhere, wrecking your face. It's like, well, what about when someone plays slow and mills you and you're like, oh, people do that? People play slow? What? So it might be interesting to just chuck a TIE Fighter or 2 in there for that. Okay, if you're going to play slow, then I've got even more dice. And you know what? You can't inspection this. You can't confiscate this. This guy's sticking around.
Yeah, that's a good play. I mean,
then he'll throw Sabotage in and wreck me that way. So
yeah, right.
Freaking Mike. So I got second last night and had a blast, man. The whole night. I was like, this is what Destiny's supposed to be. Played against a Palpatine deck, just destroyed it, right? It was like, he rolls out. I'm like, all right, I'll take the die. All right, well, I guess I'll just take some shields then. Okay, cool, next turn. I'll roll out some damage. I'll best defense it. Well, what the heck am I supposed to do over here? That was amazing.
I don't
think he killed any of my guys, John. I think all 3 lived.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that even though we didn't have the Poe Maz decks, we still had 6 Palpatine's decks last night.
Yeah.
Out of our 14 players.
Yeah.
And, that's because the other regional, the one that I attended, was won by a Palpatine player. In fact, the 2 in the final were both Palpatine.
Yep.
And so, again, it's kind of like hey, this won an event. I'm going to play it now.
Yeah.
And I hate when people do all that, too. It's like, this discussion comes up in Thrones all the time, too, about sharing decks and net decking and, whether deck lists should be posted or not after events. And, I mean, there's good and bad about it. I always, usually I felt like whenever I won a big event, it was kind of like I liked showing my deck off. It was a good deck. If it was a creative deck, or at least to get people think. Because just because you copy somebody's deck doesn't mean you play it the way they did. They have so many varied decks in Destiny to play, and if a deck wins and you copy exactly that deck, it might not fit your playstyle. You have to find those decks and tweak them, along the way. Just don't feel like you're going to play and have the same kind of result that somebody else did. Yeah. So, it's good that we had so many different decks last night, but I also felt like the Palpatine victory in the Store Championship last week spurred 6 people playing Palpatine last night. And it was interesting how even in the last round there was like an 0-3 Palpatine versus an 0-3 Palpatine. So, again, that's an example of exactly what you're talking about. What I just said, that, just because one person wins with the deck doesn't mean that it's the best deck ever.
I don't think anyone really did well with it. I think Austin was the only one to go 3-1 with it. I beat him.
Right.
So, I didn't do that well.
Yeah, like you said, I beat a Palpatine first turn. He rolls out the 2 dice. I've got best defense.
Yeah.
Next turn, I've got a flank and an electroshock. Next turn, it was ridiculous. 3 turns in a row, he didn't resolve 1 Palpatine die.
Yeah, it's hard to win as Palpatine when you can't resolve dice.
Yeah, it is, right.
And then Unkar wrecks Palpatine, because I could see he was building money really early, and I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
He's going for Rise again already? And he did. Like, he had 2 cards in hand, and so I'm like, okay, fine. If you're going to build 5 and have only 2 cards in hand, and you discard a Force Lightning, you're telling me you have Rise again. You might only have 2 damage on you, but I know it's coming. So I started gearing up Unkar to pull a card from his hand. He freaked out and played Rise again with 2 damage.
I love it. See, I love Unkar and pulling Rise again for that 5 money. Yeah. I pulled it twice last night. Woo. And I usually pull it. It's a great card, to just see your Palpatine opponent, how their face sinks when you pull out Rise again from their hand. They're like, exactly, I'm screwed.
Yeah. If you pull a Rise again, that ends the game, because it's 5 resources worth of stuff to put on FN, and you took their comeback mechanic away. It's just ball game.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
It's so much fun to play.
So we had a great time last night. It was fun. John, best time I've had playing Destiny in weeks. Thanks so much for playing with me. Had a great time.
Oh, good time for sure. I had a great time too. Best time I've had for a while too.
All right, let's move on to European Nationals, because people made a really big deal out of it. Like I said, Poe didn't win. People were like, oh, Poe didn't win. Poe's fine. So I was able to track down both the winner and the second place person and talk to them about their decks, about their day a little bit. And so I just do a quick recap. The guy who won was playing Unkar FN Trooper. He went 8-2 in the Swiss, losing to 2 Poe Maz decks out of his 3. He played 1 in the cut, being at 2-1, so it was still pretty close. And then that was it. Then he was able to go the rest of the way without Poe Maz on his radar. The Vader Raider deck took second. John, you are not going to believe this. Played 13 games. Guess how many Poe Maz games he played?
He came in second?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 0, or maybe 1 is the one he lost to at the end.
He lost at the end to the winner, the Unkar FN Trooper deck.
Okay.
And he played 0 Poe Maz on the whole day.
Which is probably why he was second.
That's very interesting. So that means there were 3 in the top 8. He did not get paired up against one, so he was able to dodge them. So, yeah, so there's taking nothing away from these people, by the way. It was a huge event. It was a big deal to win this event. All I'm saying is that we can't use this event as the definitive proof that Poe Maz isn't amazing. It's still amazing. But let's talk about these decks real quick, because they're really interesting. I want to talk about the Unkar deck first, especially since we both played it. So I'm going to tell you the weird card choices in here. The weirdest one of all to me, and it might not sound that weird, is he did not have flank. And in its place, he had 1/4 portion. And now remember, 1/4 portion says pay 1, just like flank. But it's instead of flank needing more characters up, it's just remove a die, but you pay them $1.
Right.
Any thoughts on that in this deck where you're playing things like Imperial Inspection and Salvage Stand to sort of choke them? To me, it seems like it's counterintuitive. Like, I'm choking them, and then I'm giving them money to help them out along the way. It just feels weird to me.
Yeah, I actually have 1/4 portion of my deck.
Okay.
And the reason I have 1/4 portion, it depends on the deck I'm playing against, right? I mean, say you're playing a Poe Maz deck, right? And they're claiming the battlefield more often than you. You've got 3 characters. You've got stuff to do. They're going to be claiming the battlefield. So if their first action is usually to roll Poe out, I have no problem giving them a buck to just yank one of the Poe dice because, you know, there are very few cards, Flank and Electroshock, where you can, you know, deal with dice on the table before you've rolled out characters, let's say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, He Doesn't Like You is amazing, and there's a couple other cards that, you know, where you have to have things out. But at the same time, that you have those cards, you also have the best defense. I like to have access to those cards where I can remove dice before I even roll a character. So, like Electroshock has limitations on it. What's the limitations? 2 or less cost, right? There are other things. Flank, I have to have my characters, you know, more characters refreshed than you, which is usually the case on that case. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Like 1/4 portion, there is no restriction on it. You just pick a die. And
Sure.
I like having that if I ever need it. Let's say you're playing Palpatine, another popular deck. Again, if they get to go first, I can remove one of their dice before I've even rolled a character. So I do like 1/4 portion.
How many flanks are you playing in your deck?
2.
Okay, so you're playing it in addition to flank as a third flank. Would you play it over flank in that deck?
No, I still like flank better because I still feel like most of the time I'm going to have – because, I mean, my first action, just like you, is probably to put an upgrade on FN if I'm lucky, and I haven't rolled a character yet. So, you know, there's a good chance you're going to roll before me, even if you're playing a character deck.
The one-time flank becomes kind of dicey is that especially if you have 2 salvage stands out, it can be best to just roll Unkar out first because then you have that chance of taking both of their money away, and then flank is offline for a little bit. And so from that standpoint, I can kind of see that. But if you want to be able to make that play, and then you have to give them $1 back that you took to make the play, it's like, I don't know. Like I just can't see not running flank in this deck. To me, it's like you put 3 characters in a deck, and then the first card that goes in with them is flank.
Flank is it is a great card, and I do like 1/4 portion too. I feel they're almost, you know, interchangeable in some ways because, I know I'm giving them money, but I also sometimes feel like I'm going to take it right back up the next play.
And that's fine.
You know, so
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like, I'm going to take your Poe die, and you're going to claim, and then I'm going to roll Unkar, trigger my salvage stand, and take that $1 back.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I thought that was a little weird. Some other interesting choices he has. He has 2 gaffy sticks. And when I first saw that, I was like, that's absurd. Gaffy stick is really bad. Like, especially on FN, it's really bad. It only has one side that actually does anything. But then when I looked at it a little more, I had never really actually examined the sides of Gaffy Stick because it's a freaking terrible card. Who cares what the sides are? But they're not that bad. It's got the resource on it, and it has the disrupt. And the disrupt is the most important because there just aren't that many cards with disrupt that are weapons. And so it gives you that shot to throw it on FN and Imperial Inspection them off of that. And then let's say you get the +2 melee, well then you're almost there with Unkar anyway. And so it actually is not a bad card in the deck.
No, see, that's a good call, especially when you talked about the disrupt side, because that's why I was playing the Death Trooper originally, because it had the disrupt side on it, and you know I wanted it for the Imperial Inspection. Because right now, technically, all you have is Unkar, his dice that have the disrupt on it. But at least it is another card that you potentially could get a disrupt side for, so it's not a terrible card. And you know the truth is this, like I said earlier, no matter what you roll with that die, you know, if it's a blank, you get a chance to use it with He Doesn't Like You. Mm-hmm. And if it's anything else, even if it had money side on something you couldn't resolve, you can always pitch it with Unkar's ability, pull a card out of their hand, get money, and that goes right back, and you get to re-roll it again.
Yep. It has redeploy, so it's like...
Yeah, and that's not bad either.
You can use in that scenario where, FN's going to die, you have a rocket launcher on him, and you can go like Vibro Knuckles, overwrite roll, into Gaffy Stick, overwrite roll, and be like, okay, cool, kill him. Gaffy stick moves over. Now I just overwrite it with a rocket launcher for 1.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird cards that when I first saw it, I was like, this is the stupidest decision I've ever seen. And I tried it, and I'm not thrilled with it, to be honest. I still think it comes out, but it's not foolish by any means. It's interesting.
Yeah, when you
so
played it against me last night, I didn't like it. Yeah, you played against me, I don't like it. But it grew on me.
Yeah.
I still don't love it.
My favorite moment of every game in the tournament was, I'm going to overwrite the vibro knife with gaffy stick. And then I was like, what? Huh? And then I pick up the gaffy stick and I roll it out, and they're just flabbergasted. And if it hits the disrupt side, and I'm like, oh, and now I'll bounce that. And they're like, what? Maybe the gaffy stick doesn't suck. And I was surprised. That was fun.
Yeah, that's a good play.
All right, those are the only real surprises to me. Pretty much the rest of the deck is weapons, the control package, Imperial Inspection, Salvage Stand, and then all the best removal cards. So, pretty standard.
Yep.
The Vader deck, really interesting. It has some weird includes in it. First weird include, it doesn't have force speed. And I feel like Vader Raider is going both directions, right? Some are having it, some are not. Some say, well, I have fast hands already, I don't need force speed. But if you have force speed, it's a 0-cost die. That's a pretty good die. So, I don't know. Have you played a lot of Vader Raider? Do you play force speed or not?
I have a Vader Raider deck, and I only have fast hands in it, not force speed. Again, I just almost feel it's a waste of slot. Yeah. I'd rather I have holocrons in there still, and I have force abilities, which, hey, great. I could put a force speed out as a force ability with a holocron, right? When I could have played it for 0 anyway, which was funny. So, no, I just felt like I didn't really need the force speed. Most of the time, I just want to roll Vader and chuck his 2 or 3 side, do damage with it, Yeah. That's kind of what you want to do with him. With fast hands, it gives you that chance to do it. I don't necessarily feel like you need those 2 slots for force speed. There's other things you can put there.
Yeah, I think that's more what it is. If this was Awakenings, I think we'd all just stick 2 force speeds in and be like, cool, I'm up to 30 cards now. Awesome. But now Vader Raider, it's like a 50-card deck you're trimming to 30, and so I could easily see force speed not making it. I think I've still been running it. I haven't run a lot of Vader Raider. I think it's in my list. A really weird card. He's got 1 arm to the teeth in Vader Raider.
Arm to the teeth. That's kind of interesting.
That is a weird include. This is why it's a weird include. Most people kill Vader first, and so then you have the Tusken, and your whole goal is Vader's done just enough damage where the Tusken can do gross things and go like, I'll roll the Mind Probe, hit the special, auto-resolve. I've never even dreamed of taking all of these hard-fought force abilities I've gotten onto the Raider and then just be like, I'll chuck them for 2 damage, 3 damage. Like, it seems so edge case and so situational when I would use that. I just can't, like we were just talking about, there's so many cards putting these slots, I just can't imagine having an arm to the teeth in there.
Yeah, I don't see that either. It's a finisher card, sure, but isn't that no mercy?
He doesn't have no mercy. He has 0 no mercies.
I know arm to the teeth is 0. Okay, I get that, but I don't think you need that as a finisher card.
Yeah, I agree. I totally understand the inclusion that it's a finisher. I just, like I said, it's such an edge case scenario. You only have 1. You have to find at the exact right spot, right? When you can, like, roll out the stuff with the Raider, get him to exactly 2 or 3 away, and then close it out. Because if you play that when you're still like, okay, this is going to leave you at 2, you can't do that. You need next turn to be able to roll that stuff out to win.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a weird include. It has 2 of your favorite card, Trust Your Instincts.
Oh, I love that card.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think
this
that's pretty good with Vader.
This is a solid deck, then. I like it because that card's in it.
He only has 1 he doesn't like you, which feels really weird to me, but a little less so when you think about it. Like, well, Vader's dice are amazing. You can't give them up. You're really only doing it with a Raider die. If you don't have something like force speed in there to give you another target for he doesn't like you, that makes more sense. I still think I would want 2 in it. It still feels weird to me to only have 1.
Yeah, 2 That card is just a 2 of in practically every deck. I don't see
Yeah.
how you run that and run Armed to the Teeth.
Maybe he lost one. Maybe he only has one copy.
It's possible.
He only has the Team Covenant Saga set, and his dog ate one of his he doesn't like these.
You know, it could have been it fell out at home. He's making his deck list there the day of the event. Oh, crap. Only got 29 cards in his deck. Here, let me pull this Armed to the Teeth from my Jenga deck.
And then he got second, and he's like, I got to figure out a way to defend this.
Yeah, I have to make at least one play with Armed to the Teeth in any one of my games so I could say, yeah, I planned that.
Yeah. I think you're probably wrong, John, but like where your head's at. He also has 1/4 portion, which is another interesting include for Vader Raider. I know when I first built my Vader Raider SOR deck, I had 1/4 portion in there. I thought it was one of the best cards in the set. But boy, I've really come away from 1/4 portion. I just feel like giving your opponent a money it's tough in a deck like Vader Raider. I don't know. I don't feel like you can give him money. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
Okay, that's fair.
I do like 1/4 portion. You know, again, it just gives you that one more card.
Yeah.
Well, 2 technically played it. That gives you a chance to remove a die before you've rolled a character.
Yep.
And
I agree.
sometimes you need that one. You don't get 2 turns. You only get 1 turn.
Yep.
To do something when they roll out.
Yeah, I'm going to probably have to go back and start trying it some more because you're definitely right. It's just so what happened was every freaking time I used it, something disastrous would happen, right? So it'd be like you use it against Palpatine, and then they're able to save that 2 plus the 1 you gave them. They just get their 2 money to start next turn, and they just immediately rise again, and you're like, oh my god, they wouldn't have been able to do that. And it's just like everything they do, whenever they use a dollar after I've given them 1, I'm angry about it, which they probably would have gotten 1 somehow, but it always felt like it was a terrible play whenever I made it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, that's the finals. Otherwise, the Vader Raider deck's pretty stock. Although I guess I should say it has backup muscle in it, which is a card that's kind of fallen out of favor. So it has backup muscle. Interesting deck. I want to move to our last segment today, and that is 3 cards that each of us think are going to be making a bigger impact moving forward. We've had this really crazy fast meta. This is what happens a lot of time at the beginning of these releases. I really think Poe is going to be handled in some way. Fast hands banned. Come on, Lucas, do me a solid. Ban fast hands. We'll be besties forever.
I'm on the ban Poe train. Give me ban Poe. Ban Poe.
I am not on the ban Poe train, by the way. I do not want to ban Poe. Let me have that on record. The card that I think is going to make not even just an impact, but a huge, tremendous, earth-shattering impact is Imperial Inspection. It's the card that we all looked at and said, oh my goodness, how did Villain get this amazing zero-cost support? And people were like, I'm going to run 2 sabotages just to beat that card. And then Poe Maz started seeing play and didn't run upgrades. And Vader Raider was like, I don't need upgrades that are 2 cost. And FN's like, well, I'm going to mostly play 3-costers. And people went, boy, Imperial Inspection is supposed to be good. What happened? I think it's going to be bonkers good. I think it's going to come back hardcore if these Poe decks get knocked down a peg and people actually have to play upgrades. I think that card is going to be really influential and everywhere. What about you, John? What is a card you think is going to be making a big impact soon?
I'll tell you a card I love. And the cards I always loved in Game of Thrones, and for people who don't play Game of Thrones, sorry I keep referencing that, but that's been my game for 15 years. So I would say for me, trickiness. I love things that come out of blue you're not expecting. So one of my favorite cards is New Orders. I feel like as new battlefields come out, and there are some good battlefields now that come out, and you want to claim, and just like basically it gives everyone a chance to do hyperspace loop. Although you get that card, you end the turn. I understand that, but most of the time you just want your battlefield in play.
Yeah,
you want to be able to use it, and you can use it and claim it, and your turn's still going. I think it's a pretty cool play. I think that New Orders is a really fun surprise card.
Yep, I agree. I think it can go in a lot of decks. I mean, I think it can go in a mill deck, right? You do the the whatever command center, and just being able to pay 2 to take 2 off the top of their deck, that alone can be really useful.
It's just think about the Poe, right? You know, you're playing a Poe deck against somebody else playing a Poe deck. They claim the battlefield before you. You have your throne room, they have their whatever.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, but I still wanted to trigger it before.
Yep.
I still can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a really good card. I think we will be seeing more play out of it. Just so people know something about John also. John is definitely probably most famous for taking, quote, bad cards, putting them in decks, and having people go, whoa, that's a bad card. What is the world champion doing playing a bad card? And John just kind of smiling and wrecking their face with the, quote, bad card.
Yeah, that's always fun to do, especially when you win a world championship based off one of those cards, too.
Yeah. I feel like in some ways you're the anti-Tiny Grimes, right? Like, I'm the guy sitting across from you going, well, I've never even read that card. All I know is it's bad. And you're like, oh, really? It's so bad I just beat you with it. And you're like,
The anti-Tiny Grimes, because one wins with skill and one's with stock decks.
Okay. Is that where we're going with this?
No,
we're throwing down now?
I'm just, whatever.
All right. Another card that I think is going to see a ton more play is Confiscation. I think as Imperial Inspection starts to have this huge impact, and people start to really have to gravitate to these 3s and 4s, decks like Unkar that can make a lot of money and are running this package are going to start packing Confiscation to get like the double whammy, right? They're like, oh yeah? You got your Imperial Inspection? I saved up for 2 turns. I got my baton down. Take that. And you're like, oh, really? Confiscate. Let's see you do that again now that I have 2 salvage stands out. Go ahead. Let me see you do that.
It's definitely a great play. I mean, it's a fun card. I feel like as we go forward, and maybe once we see some changes to the Poe Maz deck, I mean, just the speed kind of decks, I think some of these other cards might come into play more. And I think all the cards we've named so far are definitely fit that model.
All right, what you got next, John?
All right, here's my next one. My next one is, well, I want to go with Trust Your Instincts, but a card I really like. I don't know why I like this, and I'm going to give credit to my friend Ram, who I've played a bunch against with, and really turned me on to this card, is Imperial War Machine.
Oh,
it's a sneaky play. Again, I love that sneaky stuff. You're sitting there, and you got that 3-side, the 4. Say, imagine 4 with a rocket launcher, and they're just sitting there. You got to pay money. You got no money. Your opponent's thinking, oh, well, they've got a couple plays first. They got to re-roll this, and all of a sudden you play this, and boom.
Yeah.
You just hit them with 4 points they weren't expecting. I think Imperial War Machine is a very sneaky, cool addition to a deck. I like it a lot.
That is one of the, quote, bad cards. Like, I looked through Spirit of Rebellion really quick, and I sorted them into bad and not bad. And Imperial War Machine not only went into bad, but it went into unplayably, never look at it again bad. And someone played it against me, and my reaction was, why did you play a bad card and beat me with it? It's still a bad card. And then a couple more people played it against me, and I was like, huh, looks like Tiny Grounds is wrong. That card is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way. And Ram is the same way in terms of the player I am, that he likes sneaky stuff too, but he also doesn't always want to do what everyone else is doing. And he played that against me a few times and hit me with the baton and the rocket launcher, and it was awesome. I mean, I loved what he did with it. And I started playing it now in a deck, and it's actually pretty good. It's a nice play. I mean, how many times you pitch a good card from your hand to re-roll, hoping you're going to get money?
Yep.
This, I don't need money.
Yeah, I feel like it's not a good card overall, but in decks, it's really strong.
Would you play discard a card from your hand to do 4 damage to a character? Sure.
No,
that's what they're rocking.
No, definitely not. Yeah, if you have a lot of money sides, it's really good. It's just really good. I have it in a deck where I had 2 Feel Your Angers, 2 Logistics, 2 War Machines, and so it's this deck that's just like, it's an FN deck. It wants to make money. It wants to play weapons, and War Machine keeps it going.
War Machine is nice. Well, nice little card. It surprised me that it was better than I thought it was going to be, which I like that.
Yep, totally agree. Let's see. So my last card, John. This is a really unknown card.
Okay.
It is Backup Muscle. You remember when Backup Muscle was so good, people were saying it was broken, and now if you play Backup Muscle, like, whoa, why are you playing that slow garbage card? Games only go 3 rounds. What are you doing?
Right.
Well, John, if this game slows down a little bit, Backup Muscle is still awesome. I don't know if you remember that, John.
Oh man, that was and everyone we had yellow. It was like probably one of the first cards I put into the deck when you're building a deck.
You're like, he doesn't like you, Electroshock, Backup Muscle. What else goes in this deck? I'm not sure.
Again because of the speed of the game, most people have quit playing Backup Muscle, and it's still a solid card. I mean, how many times do you just need that one more damage and you wish you had that? Because they've got shields or something, and you don't want. Or the best play always has been when you had the character to the brink of death, one more damage, and you could just sit there and toy with him. Go ahead, I dare you to roll your character out, and as soon as they do, bam, it's dead. I mean, that's sweet, right? Or even as your first, like the last action you have on one turn gives them that second to last, damage token. And then the first action is your first one. He's dead right before he did anything. I mean, Backup Muscle is really, I'm missing it. I miss playing with it,
It's such a massive clock because, like what you said, definitely works. But let's say a dude has 5 health left, and you have 2 Backup Muscles. You're like, all right, it's 3 turns and I win. Like all I have to do is survive 2 turns, and then my first and second action, I kill him. Like that's a lot of health to know that he's dead, and all you have to do is live.
I know, I really like it a lot. I miss it.
Yeah, it's coming back. People get ready for it. Remember how bad it is, and get wrecked by it. It's gonna happen. All right, John, what's your last card?
My turn. All right, this is a tough one because I'm going to tell you 3 of them. I know it's kind of cheating away. 3
of them? What?
I'm going to tell you 3, but I'll tell you because it was tough to decide for the third one.
I'm like, give me your top 3. You're like, I will give you my top 122.
I know. All right, I'm going to go with another sneaky card then, okay? And then we can talk about the other 2 later on. It's Synchronicity. Synchronicity.
Okay.
I love Poe Ray. I love Ray Qui-Gon. And that's an easy card to play in that deck. How many times will you not have a shield and a melee side out on a roll? And it's a 0 cost. Again, here's some surprise damage. And you don't even have to have melee. You can have Ray's crappy sides that do plus melee, and so you can just play that card and boom, hit somebody for 2 damage they didn't see coming.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good card. I've seen people play it with A New Hope or Return of the Jedi as well. So they play it, go get it, play it, then resolve the melee, then resolve the shield, and you're like, that was a lot of damage, and 4 of it was unblockable. That's like it adds up fast. I agree. I think it's a good card.
Yeah, I think so too. I really like it. You want me to tell you my other 2?
Yeah, let's hear, man.
All right. So a card I love, although it's not really I don't think like a sneaky card. I just think that maybe people didn't realize it's as good as it was Blackmail.
Yeah.
I love Blackmail.
Blackmail's really good.
Yeah, it's great. Obviously with fast hands and on card 2 is amazing. And I love the Guavian Enforcer, which I have some fun names for him, but I won't go into them, no face. But he's really good. His sides are like all better than Bala. He gets more health than Bala, and with bait and switch and a couple other things you can do, I think he's a better character. I really like him.
You know what, John? You might not know this about him. Balatik has this great ability where when you kill things, he stands back up, and No Face, as you call him, does not have that ability.
Yeah, and Balatik says, "Oh, I'm playing Palpatine. Ah, boo, hiss."
That's true. That is true. His ability is less relevant against Palpatine. I will give you that. I don't know. I'm definitely on the fence which one is better. I tend to still think Bala is better. Now, however, if you're playing with Phasma, and now No Face has Guardian, well, now we're talking.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick before we go, John here, he likes to nickname all the guys. So like Guavian Enforcer is No Face, and he's got most of them are not PG, so he can't actually tell you his nicknames. But if you ever see John in person, ask him to run down all his nicknames for characters, and it'll be a lot of fun. Should do your own video.
Yeah.
Each week
Yeah, I
you go
should
through
do
you go through one of your nicknames and explain why and its providence, and I think it'd be really good.
Right. That's my YouTube channel. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
that next week. Welcome to John Bruno's Improper Card Games.
I like it a lot already. I'm
Thank you.
sold. I want in on this.
I just need to get me a hat, a cool hat.
Oh, I got plenty of hats. I got one for you right here. I'm gonna hold up in front of the camera so everyone else can see it. Hello Kitty, pink with a bow on
Ooh.
it. Dude,
Now that,
so you.
now you're talking.
So you. All right, John. Well, thanks so much for coming by on the Smugglers Den this week. Everyone out there, thanks for hanging out with us. Be sure to go by Patreon, Tiny Grimes. Contribute to the tier list because the first tier list is going to be rough. I have not played every deck, and I have strong opinions about some, not as strong opinions on others. Lucas, if you're listening, just ban fast hands. Just admit it. Like, it was a bad idea. Ban it, or better yet, this is a real scenario I'm cooking up here, John. He does not ban it, but FFG employees go throughout the country and tear up all existing copies of Fast Hands. So it's technically not banned. It just does not exist.
I like it.
I'm fine with that, dude.
Or if
Either
they
way.
had some kind of button where they just automatically did their own Order 66 and disintegrated.
You think they have that? All the cards
might
have
be a
little
chip.
chips in them?
There might be chips in every card, yeah. So I think there's an Order 66 they have for every card, and it just basically disintegrates the card. You look for it. I know I had that card around here the other day. Where's it at? I don't know.
I'm going to be really mad if they do that to my 4-speeds. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that just goes poof right in front of your face.
Oh, man, imagine how people feel they spend over $100 buying those initially.
They're like, they open it up out of the envelope, and they're like, yes! Oh, what? That's the worst. Yep, be a bad day. All right. Well, John, where can people find you on the internet other than your YouTube channel of inappropriate card names?
Well, that's about it, unless you're visiting some of those other inappropriate sites that I might see you on there.
Whoa.
But other than that, my nickname over there is Large Grimes. So, you know.
Oh, okay. All right. I see where this is going.
But otherwise, just here every once in a while when I pop in to visit, my favorite Thrones player.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I will see you guys next time. You can find me at Tiny Grimes YouTube, Tiny Grimes Games on Twitter. I've been streaming a fair amount. Not this week. My daughter wasn't feeling well, but starting back next week, streaming a fair amount. Actually, John, I
Yes.
think we should stream some live games at my house.
That sounds like
actually
fun.
on the table live, and then they can hear your inappropriate card names live as we're doing it. So go to Twitch Tiny Grimes for that, and Patreon Tiny Grimes, and we'll see you next week on the Smugglers Den.